Hello, everybody, and welcome to the City Podcast. First and foremost, this is Chad Cranston here. We're doing something a little bit different. Right now, as we speak, the co-host Steve Mealing has been on his back for a couple of weeks now, so he won't be on this podcast, and I'm going to predict that he's probably going to be out for a couple more weeks, which means he's not going to be on those ones either. But I want to first and foremost thank everybody for joining us, subscribing to us on iTunes, and listening to us on YouTube and on Google Play. It's been a pleasure doing this. The format we're changing up a little bit this time around going forward. What we're going to be doing now is introducing our guests before we actually get into all the fun stuff. So this episode of the podcast, I want to do something a little bit different. You know, I'm a fitness enthusiast, and so is Steve. But what we wanted to do this time around, what I did is I invited two female guests. I really wanted to get into the myth behind female fitness. So what I've done is I invited two of my really good friends, one Lonie Murdock and the other Alexandra Newton, who was on her podcast. I'll introduce you to both of them in a sec. But first and foremost, Lonie I've known for quite some time. I've watched her train over the years, and she knows exactly what she's doing when it comes down to fitness. Really well known in the fitness community here in the city. And yeah, man, somebody that I look up to. And she now owns a company called Eat, Train, and Live. And basically what Eat, Train, and Live is a lifestyle company rooted in optimizing your personal health and wellness. Now, their concept is completely straightforward and simple. There's nothing too complex about it. It's a concierge approach to those who are looking to elevate the quality of life by enhancing the way they eat, they train, and they live. And the other podcast that I was on, it was called Fit for Thought, Fit for Thought podcast. I was there maybe a couple of weeks ago talking about just fitness and life and a little bit more myself and that kind of stuff. You can find Fit for Thought podcast on iTunes right now. The host of the podcast, her name is Alexandra Newton, and I brought her on because she is now getting well into fitness, becoming a personal trainer herself. And you know, she's got a lot of good ideas and a lot of good concepts behind women's fitness, and not just that, but really comprehending what it takes for women to get fit and destroy all the myths that are behind women's fitness that they might think as a beginner coming into fitness or wanting a personal trainer. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Lonie Murdock and Alexandra Newton.
You are listening to the City Podcast. Unadulterated, non-politically correct, unfiltered, real talk. The city from the inside out. With your hosts, Chad Cranston and Steve Mealing.
So guys, thank you very much for coming on the City Podcast. Sorry everybody, listen, Steve, before we start, you guys don't mind, Steve hurt himself on Canada's Day. He's been out of commission for about 4 weeks now, so it's going to be me for the next month. I'm assuming I'm doing the podcast. We've got a lot of awesome guests coming up. I don't know if he wants me to tell you how he hurt his back, but he is in bed, and it's a very funny story. He won't admit to it, but I picked it out of him. And so he's out of commission, so it's going to be me, Chad Cranston, doing the City Podcast with a lot of great guests. And today we have Lonie Murdock from Eat, Sleep, and Train. Eat, Train, and Live.
Eat, Train, Live.
And Alexandra Newton.
Hello,
from
Chad.
Fit for Thought. I was on her podcast, so here we are. We're doing reciprocal. We're doing it right back because this is awesome. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thanks for
tonight.
having us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is a new experience for me because I'm so used to being the interviewer and not on the other side of the table, but I'm excited to be here.
So I get
on the
that.
other side.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like kind of a rock star. I felt
does.
like a rock star when I did yours. It does. It totally does. So the premise that I wanted to have you guys on, obviously, is to talk about women's fitness here in Toronto. What I found traveling quite a considerable amount through Canada, through Ottawa, like places like Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, and Toronto, and because I'm everywhere that I go, I have to work out. There's a big difference between the cities on how people stay fit and what their interpretation of fit is. And I found that we talked about this on your podcast really briefly about the two different premises, and going in Vancouver and find that they're more in a healthy lifestyle where they care about their fit before their image.
Right.
Here in Toronto, it's predominantly image and everybody before fitness, right? And whatever everybody was. My question to you, like when you first started off in the industry, how was it back then? Like, because social media is a big factor in how everybody determines what their fitness level is going to be now.
Right. Well, I started a long time ago, long before Instagram. So there was actually no social media platform. And so when people worked out, they worked out to work out, not for any kind of likes, or there was no imagery, there were no photo shoots, there was nothing like that. You just went to the gym because you wanted to go to the gym. And I think probably body image changed over the years because of social media, and in particular for women. It went from just being something that you did because you wanted to live a healthy, active lifestyle to now there's a visual aspect of it that goes out to thousands of people every single solitary day. So it's changed quite a bit in terms of the imagery. So there's always been a sexual aspect to, fitness magazines and that sort of thing. But if you see them now, I mean, there's a sexualization of all women's fitness that's sometimes on the verge of pornography. And, some people find that really motivating and some people find it really discouraging. So I guess it just depends on where you fall in that kind of idea of what your perfect body image is or what your ideal body image is. But then you have also these kind of false images that you see on a daily basis. You're barraged with these, Instagram fitness models that look one way and you're like, how is this possible? I'm killing myself in the gym and I don't look like that. Well, there's all kinds of things that go along with, the perfect Instagram shot. My good friend Katrina Smart said Instagram is everybody's greatest hits, and I thought that was such a great line because it's true. You have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. Is that person healthy? Is she training properly? Is she like eating what she should be eating? Is she just starving herself to look like that? But I mean, there's a ton of amazing people on Instagram that will give you a wealth of knowledge and who really know what they're talking about. And then there's a whole shitstorm of people who have no idea what they're doing, and they're selling you a bag of garbage. It's
funny because back in the days, it was all product that was garbage.
Yeah.
Back in the day, different creatines, and then there's different. What do we have back then? So
there's still so many things that those things are all banned now. You can't really get them in Canada. But but you can still get, there's like a whole new crop of crap that people are buying. So now it's like flat tummy tea and like drink this tea and you're going to look like this, or, pop this gummy bear and you're going to have hair down to your waist, or wear this waist trainer and all of a sudden you're going to have a six pack. Like there's just so much garbage out there when really, if you just eat like a normal person, with thought, and then exercise like a normal person, you'll probably reach your goals. Maybe you're not going to reach them in 3 weeks, but if you just did it consistently, all of a sudden you'd be like, holy shit, this is great. And it didn't kill me, and it didn't take all my money, and I didn't have to wear a waist trainer, and I didn't have to drink this tea, and I didn't have to eat this vitamin or whatever it is, So there's still all of those things. I think they're just different than 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And they're easily accessible now because you just have to click on a link on Instagram and it takes you right there.
Right. So Alexandra, when you started off, were you in that type of mindset? Did you understand what you're getting into when you started off your fitness? Well, you've always been doing it.
I think my reason, why I started fitness or getting into fitness in Toronto, the motivation was an accident that I was in. It was a beautiful summer day like we're experiencing now, and I was cycling to meet my sister for lunch, heading eastbound on College, approaching Spadina, and a white utility van decided to make a quick and dirty hard right to turn south and clip me from the side, knock me into the middle of the intersection. I don't know, the universe was on my side that day. I left the scene with deep bruising, no broken bones, no concussion. I don't know how that happened. However, in the weeks after, the doctors diagnosed it as bruising, but what happened is I felt like I lost all of my athleticism. I could hardly walk without being out of breath. I just didn't feel like myself. I couldn't do the activities I was used to doing, like, or had the strength that I had all of my life.
Did you feel tired?
I felt tired all the time. And I said,
Concussion?
I can't. It wasn't a concussion. I had scans. The doctors said, it's just bruising. You're really lucky gal. But it totally changed the way I was able to move and the confidence in myself, and a lot of how I identified as an athlete, as someone who was strong and fit. And that's why I got into fitness. But I was training mostly in boot camps and classes, and I definitely saw the effect, which Lonie is referring to, of social media on some of the women in the classes, and sort of being sort of like a, running through that wheel and going, not really moving, running, but staying in the same place and wondering, like, why am I not seeing changes? Why is nothing happening? And I think the most powerful part of being in those classes was the before and after, when the exchange of information happened, and you could hear those women's stories of like what they were trying and what wasn't working and what they were upset about. And it was really concerning to hear the stories and to know that they had been given misinformation, or were focusing on a goal or an image that really, as Lonie mentioned, is not attainable and really is not the right image that we as women should be chasing.
Or could be attainable. The goal could be attainable, but you have to have the right information to attain that goal. So Alex and I saw each other 3 times a week. And, for 2 years, I saw Alex 3 times a week in a boot camp setting. And she was strong as hell, but we didn't see any changes in her body. So when we started training together, we kind of had to take a step back, the two of us, and say, okay, I was like, you're strong, but you're never going to see any change in the way that you look unless you rethink the way that you train and the way that you eat and the way that you approach your own personal fitness. Because it was just like, go, 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 go. I need to be sweaty and done and like just depleted by the end of this workout, or else I don't feel like I accomplished anything.
Right.
And you know how powerful habits, routines
for sure.
People
For sure.
staying inside of those comfort zones
Yeah.
and being like waking up at the same time, going to the same class, working out with the same women, being challenged the same way. And it's scary to move beyond that. And it's difficult to, I remember when so I've decided to get my personal training certification. And at the time I had left a class that Lonie and I were in together. And, I had changed my way of thinking vis-a-vis the way I was working out with her. And I said to her, do you mind if I design a program, like say, test a workout as a personal trainer on you? And she said, certainly. So I wrote this program. We met up one day at a boutique gym to run through it. And it was exactly the opposite of what those things that I had changed. It was totally back to that like Instagram skinny cardio. And like not even 10 minutes into the program, she stopped me and she said, wait, like she was showing me that the power of those habits and way of thinking were still there. Like I really hadn't changed my practices. I thought I did, but
I think you changed them personally and saw that visually in terms of like just in terms of the way Alex looked. Like she was still she was stronger than she already was, but now you could see that strength. Like she looked like an athlete. Like you could see the work that she was putting in, whereas before, you could see it because she could lift, more than probably somebody else that was her size, but she was very slim and very lean and no real muscle definition there. But then once we started training and literally I was like, don't do a lick of cardio. I don't want to see you sweating basically unless it's in here because of the weights that you're lifting. And once she started to do that and started to see, the benefit of it in terms of what her personal goal was. And Alex's goal is not the goal for everybody.
Right.
And those classes, like she said, we went to the same class, we did those things, and both of us loved it for the time being that we were there. Yeah. And you get something out of it. You get friendships, camaraderie. You get accountability that you probably don't get sometimes when you're on your own. And depending on what your personal goal is, maybe that's your thing. Because maybe your goal is not to be able to, you know, squat past your body weight or deadlift 300 pounds or whatever it is. Maybe it's just to be active and to have that social interaction.
Right.
And if that's it, that's great. And you'll definitely, you're going to benefit from it regardless. You're not going to not benefit from doing any type of exercise unless you're doing it wrong. But you'll always benefit from that social interaction, from that activity, all of that stuff. But if you have a specific goal, you have to know how to train for that goal.
Right.
You know, just going from class to class to class to class, you will definitely get stronger, but you're never going to reach your peak. You will definitely increase your endurance, but you'll never reach your peak. You know what I mean? You have to choose a goal and you have to train specifically for that. So, but I mean, you just have to know what it is that you want and then go in that direction. So that's how, I mean, Alex and I, our relationship has evolved from, you know, instructor to class participant to trainer, trainee to friends, and just like, you know, we collaborate on things now. So if I'm doing something, I'll call Alex and be like, I'm going to run through this with you, because I trust now that she's seen both sides of it, right? Yeah. She's been on both sides. She's also, you know, becoming a personal trainer. She has an idea about fitness that I respect, that she has like a, you know, an education. She educates herself on everything, the next step of what it is that she's going to do, where a lot of people will just blindly say, you're the leader, tell me what to do. Right. I'm just going to do it. So if I don't know what I'm talking about, and I tell you to do it, now both of us don't know what we're doing.
So like what's, because like, is it kind of like the auto mechanic syndrome where the trainers are just selling people fitness and not really getting into, because everybody's their own individual, like you just mentioned before. And I guess it's pretty important, like even for myself, when I'm training, like this is my goals right off the bat. This is what I want. I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I'm an athlete, but I want to be faster. So let's train. Right. So are a lot of trainers selling a lot of women that just don't know any better fitness on that level of things? Okay, so now, obviously, booty and legs. So let's squat forever. And I'm going to show you different variations of squats, even though you might be doing it properly. But is that the right thing? And are a lot of trainers doing that? Are you finding like your clients that you have, that you're meeting, that's...
So I mean, my approach to fitness is obviously, again, it depends on the person that I'm training. Sure. Yeah. Depends on the person that I'm training. But I always find people's goals change the more information they have. So I think people start off with this probably 80% of women, unfortunately, come and say, I just want to be toned and just want to tone up. Well, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know what that means. It means that I want to look like this girl who I've just flipped through 850 of her photos, not taking into consideration that they've been photoshopped and edited and, you know, posed and not posed, whatever it is. So when people say that, I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Show me who you look like, or who you go to on Instagram, and I'll tell you what it takes to get there. And everything is attainable. That's the thing. If you want to look like those people, well, except for a few things, unless you're willing to spend like tens of thousands of dollars on plastic surgery, but that's a whole other set of whatever. But you know, physically, it's attainable. But what are you willing to do to get there? And what I tell people, and I've said this a million times in probably every interview or whatever that I've ever done, is that for fitness models, Instagram models, all of those people, that is their 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week job. They get up, their body is their uniform. That is what their moneymaker is. They have to sell it. So everything that they do, what they eat, how they train, their finances depend on that body. Yeah. So they're, you know, some of them might have a 9-to-5, and that's great. It is doable, but you have to make sacrifices. So are you really willing to make that sacrifice? Is it going to be your next career? Is it, you know what I mean? Because it takes that much time. Yeah. You have to dedicate your time to it. I competed, you know, over a decade ago, and I had a 9-to-5 job, and I got and a daughter. So I would get up in the morning, get her ready for school, go to my day job, come home, make her dinner, have a nap, and go to the gym at 10 o'clock at night, because that's when I could go. Right. You know what I mean? And so because this is my goal, that was my goal to compete. That's when I had the time to do it. that's what I was going to do. Would I do that now? No, because that's not my goal. You know what I mean? So,
and don't you think? I think goals are very important because they help to like focus your efforts, bring you a sense of energy and purpose. But I don't think enough people, and I had to make this switch too. Enough people love the process, right? If I look at all the information, and I'm trying to not do this on my podcast, and I think we talked about this a bit, Chad. It's like everything is like 5 steps to a bigger butt, or like get this in 3 weeks, right? No one loves the process anymore. That I love the goal as well. I love getting those fixes. I love seeing those gains, but I also am obsessed by the process. And it takes work and dedication, and no one sees that. Everyone, you know, they may reflect and say, oh, you look fantastic, or this person looks like that, but they don't see the work. And also the love of the work. Like, I'm reminded of, like, so I watch Gary Vee a lot. Like, I'm on his channels all the time, and he's always talking about, he's obsessed with the hustle. Yes, he has goals, but, like, what drives him is that he just loves the game of, like, entrepreneurship and working all of the time and connecting with people and sharing information. Like, that to me is like one of the best parts about working out and having those goals is developing a relationship with yourself, your trainer, and you know, going on that journey.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I feel like, you know, with my clients, their initial goal is always that. It doesn't take any time at all before that changes, and they do become involved in the process of it. Like, wow, I couldn't do that last week, or oh my God, that's 10 pounds heavier than, like, now they're focused on the fact that, oh my God, I'm getting stronger, I can do this. Before I couldn't balance like this. All those little, you know, maybe at some point, if you've been working out forever, you take them for granted, but somebody who's just getting into it, they're like, wow, that's amazing. And then all of a sudden you see the light. You know what I mean? And you realize, okay, this isn't about just that night out, or my wedding, or my birthday, or that trip, and it becomes longer than that. You know, it becomes a new goal and a longer term goal, and then it's not so much 3 weeks or 5 easy steps. They start to adopt it as a lifestyle, and you can really see the transformation. And some people never have that transformation.
Right.
Some people, it's always just the next thing. They need to book a trip. They need to have a photo shoot. They need to have a birthday.
That's the weirdest thing ever. And then they go back into that hole of like, oh, I just ate half a pizza. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Go ahead. You know what I mean? But like, what's your end goal? Or now you're going to Cancun, so you're going to do it now in 6 weeks?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's amazing how many people will say that to me. I have 5 weeks until whatever.
How do you feel about how does that feel? Does that irk you? Because just to hear it, I mean, we're 2017, and we all know this is not just about trying to be athletes or gym rats or whatever have you. It's just about, we all know that there's a lot of disease out there, and you got to live your life to best that you can possibly do. That means just like living the healthiest lifestyle you possibly can.
Well, I think that's what draws people to me. I'm 47 years old, and I would hope that most of the time don't look 47 years old.
No, you don't.
You know what I mean? And I think what draws people to me as a trainer is that this is my lifestyle, but I still live. Yeah. So I still do all of the things that, you know, a person who is not, their job isn't health and fitness do. I go out. I go out to dinners. Do you drink? I do drink.
Beer?
No.
Vodka. All
Lots of it sometimes, but but
you drink?
But that's fine.
You don't drink at all? No. You smoke weed?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, do you?
I may have a glass of wine. Confessions.
Yeah.
It's all coming out on this podcast, Chad.
That's how you do it.
Me this would happen.
You know me. I told you. Yeah. It's fair. It's weed's not. There's nothing wrong with weed, man.
You know what is really interesting? Well, not that I find this interesting for me. I want to figure it out for myself. But the reason why I won't have more than a glass of wine. I don't metabolize alcohol well. I really feel like I'm genetically disposed to not metabolizing alcohol. And I think if I did a DNA test, so my background is Eastern European and a little bit of Turkish if we go far back enough in terms of like empires, raping and pillaging. But I think I have that gene that affects a lot of Asian populations. That, you know, the Asian flush. It's like a stereotype. Well, no, it's actually true. It's a gene that they just don't metabolize alcohol well. My cheeks will go red, my eyes are dilated, I feel like shit the next day, and I just don't want to wake. I love the morning so much that no amount of drinking at night will sway me, because I just want to wake up the next day and feel no.
but then you haven't smoked with her, so
this is true.
She might have you in a chicken coop after smoking.
And
who knows?
I know to have a lot of fun at weddings. I sound like such a geek, right?
If I ever get married, Alex, it'll be.
You know what? The funny part about alcohol and in fitness is, like, now I hardly drink either, and I actually went out last night and had 4 drinks. And I woke up this morning at 8:30 feeling like crap. Like, not myself, so I'm a little sluggish. Oh, so I don't really want my steel cut out. You know what I mean? Like, that mindset automatically sets in after drinking, because your body is craving alcohol again, and something to compensate to give you comfort in your moments. And I wasn't hungover, but I just knew that it was starting to set in. I can pick it out. I can see it, because I don't drink that much at all. And for guys, I mean, it might be a lot different from girls, because we can lose it a lot faster.
Yeah.
But then there's, you know what I mean? There's a lot of girls that will go out and work out, but then they drink.
Well, I think it's actually like a new thing. I don't know if you've noticed, but like certain alcohol companies, their advertising is geared to fitness.
Yeah.
So now it's like showing like a CrossFit type workout, and as soon as they're done, they're popping a cold one.
Yeah.
I mean, which is the reality of the situation, is that people are training like elite athletes, but living life like normal people.
Yeah.
So it's finding the balance between those two things, right? So for me, 20 years into fitness, I mean, it's because it is so much of my lifestyle that I just do it all. Like I get up and I work out, and if I know that I'm going to be going out, if I'm going out on a Friday, I'm for sure going to get my workout in Friday morning, because I know I'm not working out on Saturday.
Right. Now, is that typically because it's your day off Saturday, or?
No, because I'm going to be hungover. Right. I'm going to feel it. Even if I don't feel hungover, I'm not going to be at my best, and I'm not going to train through that. What's the point? I'm going to also know that I'm not going to beat myself up about it, because I probably trained Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and maybe I'll do something on Sunday, or maybe I won't. But at this point, 20 years in, I'm just like, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas I feel like people who are on the 5-week train, everything's a big deal. You know? I missed a workout. Well, you're stressed about missing a workout because you're trying to get them all in 5 weeks. You're stressed about the piece of pizza because you're starving yourself for 5 weeks. It's
crazy.
And you feel like that piece of pizza is going to impact everything. But if you looked at it in terms of 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, that one piece of pizza that night out is not going to be a big deal. It's only a big deal because you're shrinking all of your expectations into 5 weeks.
Right. Is there a goal to change that mindset? I don't find guys have that much of that. Oh gosh,
guys, you guys have it so easy.
Like, we don't really think that way of 5 weeks.
No.
Like, get into a suit, the suit's got to fit me. You know what I mean?
But
like,
you're also you're not bombarded with imagery the same way.
Well, we are. We are.
No.
I mean, I don't think it's the same type of mindset, but you're right. I mean, I don't look at it.
Even your imagery and the articles that are kind of targeting you are long-term articles.
Yeah.
Get in the best shape of your life. This program, and it's things like German volume training or like, you know, a 5x5 where you can take your time to build up this progress and get through these workouts. Yeah. Your article is that. Our article is exactly what Alex said. 5 steps to a bigger butt, 3 weeks to the best body, 10-minute abs. No, it should be exactly what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And honestly, the most successful I am in my training, and the most the look that I can attain, that I want the quickest, is when I just train like a guy.
Right.
When I take away all of the fluff, I just take it all away, and I focus on super basic moves. I throw in a couple days of just conditioning to keep my cardio up there, but not like I'm not doing, full-blown 60 minutes of like high cardio. I'm not doing that. Eat like a guy, train like a guy, look like
or could it not be considered to just eat like a human being, because we're all hunters-gatherers at one point? If we go back to the nature of human existence, before we had all this, before we even had fire, we all had to hunt, as the women had to hunt and gather as well too. And we all had to survive, and our bodies were the exact same. We stored fat in the exact same way. If we didn't eat for days, we're storing fat. So cannot be. It can. I'm trying to dispel the myth.
Oh, there's I mean,
All the bullshit, basically, of like, you know, of what fitness is, and because I'm a very big observer of women's fitness. I don't watch them because I'm trying to be like that pervy guy. I'm like, you know, you've been on the squat rack for an hour. Is that really that healthy for you? But I don't know, man, because like I don't know. Is it because I think maybe women's butts I think grow faster than men's butts do?
I think this could tie interestingly into the regulatory and policy side behind training. So personal training is an unregulated industry. Yes, you can acquire a certification, and that certification is necessary in order to get insurance. But no one is saying, no, did I say to Lonie, hey, can I see your certification, Lonie?
Right.
What are your credentials?
Right.
Let me evaluate that association. What is it based on?
Right.
Some people, A, don't care. B,
don't know.
C,
They just assume that you're a professional.
You know what you're talking about.
Everything you tell me
does that person keep up with professional development over the years, or did they get their certification 20 years ago and they, for whatever reason, fall off the scene? I think there's a great, and this is how I've approached it and why I feel like it's taken me so long to have finished this certification, is I think there's a big responsibility behind that title. You're dealing with people's health and wellness, and far beyond that, their mental state, their psychological state. It's not to be taken lightly, and I think too many people do. I'm wondering if it was more regulated, would we see a change in the type of information that people receive, and more responsibility and onus on the part of the personal trainer? That's not to knock personal trainers. Like, obviously there are lots of great ones out there that that take it very seriously. But I'm wondering, if you can get a certification, I'm not going to name some associations, in a weekend, and then you're training people at a gym. That's
like kettlebell movements, or like.
Not that I'm for also like caveats like that. I think I'm big on regulation, but I'm wondering how that affects the way the industry operates. I'm raising it as a question.
Well, do you not think it'd become down to money at that point? Because now when you're talking about insurance, now you're talking about product. Now you're talking about those organizations losing money that might be government funded, right? And the government might be making money off that as well too, where they're just going to just throw it out there, like just say a real estate agent. Anybody can become a real estate agent. Are you a good one or you're not? Who knows?
Anybody can become a trainer. Are you a good one or not?
Right?
Fitness is the new real estate. Everybody's a trainer.
Everybody's a trainer.
Everybody's a trainer. And the thing is, I know lots of people who have lots of credentials who are bad trainers. I know lots of people who don't necessarily have a ton of credentials who are awesome trainers. So it's just like everything else. Like you can graduate top of your class, whether or not you can translate that into a profession that is dealing with people one-on-one. It's disseminating information in a way that people can really understand it, take it in, utilize it, and feel like they're being told what they need to be told, and being able to see somebody. I mean, we both know, Alex, there are people who have a ton of credentials, and you can do the worst move in front of them and they won't say anything. But they have a degree in kinesiology. They have, every certification under the sun, but you do the move, you've paid them for that hour, and they're just going to let you do that move however you're going to do it, and then on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Whereas somebody who doesn't necessarily have a kinesiology degree or something like that will be like checking every ounce of your form to make sure that every move you do is the safest and most beneficial to you. So I'm not so much, against people who maybe didn't go to university or whatever. That to me that doesn't, because it's the same thing like real estate.
Yeah.
You can work for the best real estate company and you're going to sell me a shack.
Yeah, you don't care, even though they know it's not for you.
You just want to make the sale. So it really depends on the individual, and that's where, as a consumer, you are a consumer, and your body is, you're basically handing yourself over to somebody. You wouldn't go to a doctor who kind of brushed you off. So why go to a trainer to brush you off? I tell people all the time, I'll train you for free your first session. We have to spend an hour together, sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes at 6 a.m. we better know that we're on the same page, because nobody wants to be with somebody like that for that length of time if we're not trying to, if we don't both see the end goal, have a common goal that we're both trying to get to.
Right.
So 2 questions. Do you do a reverse engineer, and what should women that want to get into fitness or now into fitness be looking out for when they're training or trying to find a decent trainer?
Do you want to talk, Alex?
So let's start off with the reverse engineer, because a lot of women, like you said, will come in and want to get toned, and that's not really much of a goal to get toned or whatever that essentially means.
I agree with Lonie. The sign to me of a great trainer is someone, well, a couple of things. Like on the softer side of skills, that trainer was once just someone at the gym working out, having a passion for exercising and fitness. If they can't instill that same passion in you, like if they can't identify your why, then I think there's a problem. They need to be able to connect with you. You're dealing with human beings, and that you're there for an hour, but it's a really intimate experience. And for me, that can make or break a relationship. Like if I can't, in between sets, have a quick conversation and feel like I'm connecting with that person, the trainers are almost like the hairdresser, the barber, the bartender, the therapist. They need to
That's what Marcus says.
They need to have those people skills. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a good marker. They're willing to have really upfront conversations like, and I'm sorry, Chad, this may be too much for the podcast, but like, are you on your period this week? Let's talk about how we can, let's talk about how we can align.
So you would never
I would never think about that, because obviously
and if you're training with a man, he should be open enough to ask you the same question, because your menstrual cycle, so many hormones are flowing through your body. There are different phases to the menstrual cycle that can have a detrimental or actually beneficial effect on the way you train. So if the trainer isn't willing to connect with you as a person and have those conversations and understand what's going on, just like beyond the outer, the physical, then it's not the right connection.
My clients have walked in and I'll just look at their face and be like, what's happening here? Yeah. And immediately whatever we had planned for that day changes on the spot, because why am I going to try and make you do something that you physically on that day cannot do, because all it's going to do is make you feel defeated. And that's not what that hour is about. So, sometimes it happened with Alex and I, we'd be like, no,
we were doing GBT.
Yeah. And we would just scale back on the weight, or, knowing full well she could probably do close to 100 pounds more than what we're doing. But on that day, she wasn't going to make it there. And why put her in that position to fail when we can successfully have a great workout, do everything that we needed to do, just scaled back, and she still leaves feeling good, but we haven't killed her because really it was just not the right time of the month.
Can we talk about this, the menstrual cycle? Because this is very interesting.
No,
and
this
is
more
knowledge
research. I've been trying to do more research on this, particularly because I focus on powerlifting and like track my own cycle and how it affects my performance in the gym. Sometimes it allows me to be a beast and lift past my PRs.
So
Other
while
times
you're PMSing, pre-PMS, post-PMS, during?
The menstrual cycle should be considered the whole 35 days. It's not actually
what about
when
the
you're
crazy
menstruating.
Days?
I'll just pretend you didn't see it.
She gave me the craziest look, and I almost melted into the floor.
Wrong guess to say that too.
I don't mean so the pre-stage where you're getting emotional, is that obviously your chemicals or your hormones are starting to elevate? I don't know. I don't have. I need to understand this.
Every woman's cycle is different. The length, the symptoms that they experience. Even a woman who say is in an anxious or emotional state most of her period, other months she could be angry or depressed. It can be very unpredictable, and I think a lot of women,
that's a good word, is unpredictable.
It can be unpredictable, and women shouldn't feel defeated. Or what I used to do, I was disappointed in myself when I underperformed in powerlifting, knowing very well it was because I was going through my cycle but not giving credit to the fact that my body is going through a very natural process. It's affecting my training, and it's not making me less of
an athlete.
Thank you for referring to me as such.
Yeah.
But yeah. But it can be really defeating at times, and
Very interesting.
yeah. And I think more research needs to be done. I was on I need to shout out a really great resource. It's called the Personal Training Development Center, PTDC. And the founder is a man named Jonathan Goodman from Toronto. He has written a number of books about personal training, one of which I think is a great resource. It's called Ignite the Fire, Secrets to Building a Successful Personal Training Career. And the way he looks at the industry and what it means to be a trainer and to connect with people and to learn about fitness is very different from what we normally see, the lists and the get there in 6 weeks. So he looks at the softer side of training, like the people skills, the business, the psychological side. And I actually found a couple of articles on this site. If the women out there or men who are trainers listening to the podcast right now want to know more about aligning a menstrual cycle with programming, there's some really great articles on that site.
That's actually a really good point, though, Alex, to say that as a male trainer, you should really be willing and open enough to talk to your female clients about that, because it really does impact them. Whether or not it impacts them, you said, in a positive and a negative way throughout that 35-day cycle. But that, there's going to be one morning in particular where it really impacts them. And if you can't have that conversation, you are missing a boat on connecting with your client.
Psychologically, so we're not talking about the physical aspects, we're talking about psychological and confidence levels. And
1,000%.
Because she doesn't know that because she knows that she's going through a cycle.
She knows everything.
On a stage.
She's known and been going, but maybe needs to be told that it's okay to deload that day,
right.
to take things back, or it's okay, we can push past this. And you're going to be okay at the end of this, because it is hormonal. You don't know where that person is, and those fluctuations. So to have somebody who you feel comfortable enough discussing that with can either take you from just throwing your hands up and being like, I'm not doing this, to having that 5-minute discussion and working through whatever it is in that moment, and taking you potentially meeting a personal goal that day, or just getting through it mentally. A 5-minute conversation. Whereas if holy shit, I have the worst cramps ever in life, I'm feeling like I didn't sleep well last night, all these things, but I can't tell my trainer that because I have to talk to this guy now about the fact that I have my period. Where is that relationship?
I understand that now.
And I think this is.
No, I do, because I'm reflecting back on the people that I've dated, that are obviously into fitness as well too, and they're going through their menstrual cycles. Majority of the time, their cover was to go for a run. I'm getting really bad cramps, so I'm just going to go for a jog, and that seems to work. But then I don't, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking the chemicals are imbalanced in an area where you feel low and you feel high, and that's it. But there's a lot more to it, obviously, than just lows and highs.
Oh, yeah.
And your energy levels, I didn't realize the energy levels.
It affects your joints, it affects your mobility, it affects your endurance, it affects your strength, so many things. But like Alex is saying, it could affect it negatively, or it could affect it positively. But you have to and that's where, as not the trainer, but you need to be body aware. You need to know, and you need to be able to walk into a room and say, listen, I know this is what's on track for today. I'm not comfortable with that, or I feel like we should do whatever. It's really your hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's your hour to decide. And sometimes I'll have a plan for somebody, and they'll be like, that's not in my plan today.
Right.
And I need to be educated enough. I need to be fluid enough to be like, okay, what's your plan for today? And then take my knowledge and make sure that person gets the most out of that hour.
Right.
But bringing it back to your question about what should we look for in a trainer, sometimes I find a really successful strategy to understand what works is to look outside the industry to see what other people are doing. And interestingly, in wearable tech right now, speaking of mindfulness and having these conversations about more than just the physical, I'm seeing a lot of traction in the health wearable tech industry that focuses on mindfulness, recovery, breathing. posture, heart rate variability, all of these things that aren't tracking an activity per se, but like the softer, I don't want to say softer, but it's a flip side to how fast am I running, or how many steps have I climbed.
Well, I think it takes it away from the takes it away from the meathead aspect of being in the gym, where now there is a very intellectual level to why, like, you know, pro athletes or pro bodybuilders look the way that they do.
Right.
They're never going to expose those little secrets other than what's obvious. But there's certain things, like you're saying, like that.
LeBron James is getting a decent 8, if not 9 hours of sleep every night. I bet my life on he has an amazing sleep pattern, and he gets his sleep in. Yes. All of these.
Like Tom Brady probably as well too. Serena Williams, like.
You know, that trainer should be telling you, you shouldn't be, like, don't feel that you need to be training 6 days a week. Your muscles are going to grow when you're sleeping, when you're getting a good night's rest and your body can recover. So many magical things happen when you just listen to your body, that mindfulness, and take a break. That's another good sign of a trainer, not someone who says, well, you should be training with me 4, maybe 5 days a week, and we're going to do weights every day. Like, no. They should also be looking for imbalances. What if you are someone who's trained for years, are really confident, feel like you have a lot of knowledge about your own body or what's going on in the gym? There's nothing more beautiful than being humbled by a trainer and saying, let's take a step back and just see, are you compensating on a certain side for something? That's exactly what Lonie and I did. She wanted to know the full picture. And she said, this accident, absolutely, this has had an effect on you. And we were able to uncover those imbalances. Although I still was moving in, you know, those boot camp style classes, feeling strong, you know, hitting records. But was my form as good as it could have been? Probably not. Was I still compensating? Yes, I was.
And how were you feeling the day later?
Sore, which isn't, and that's another thing. Feeling sore. What I really dislike on Instagram is seeing pictures of, like, I'm dead on the floor of the gym, like, absolutely can't move the next day. That's not always an indication that you had a great workout. Like, pain isn't a correlation to efficient, effective workouts.
I mean, I think now people, there's a flip side, right? So in terms of Instagram and social media, the flip side to the things that I don't like about it, which are mainly visual, the flip side to it is that there's now, I think more than ever, a connection between fitness and wellness. Like, people are understanding that. Like, sleep affects my fitness level. The way I eat affects my fitness level. Those things, like seeing somebody outside of just a personal trainer, somebody who focuses on, you know, fascial stretch therapy or ART or whatever it is, whatever kind of manual manipulation of your body that helps you get to that next level. Because that's the thing. Elite athletes are not just getting up every day, having a bowl of steel cutouts, hitting the weight rack, and that's it. There are people all along the way that are, you know, monitoring their mobility, monitoring their sleep, monitoring their food, monitoring all of those things, which is why they are able to perform time and time and time again. Most of us could not even, never mind the physical part, like the impact of say a basketball game or a football game. You know, they're running into each other, they're falling on the floor, all of those things. If any of us in a week just ran up and down a basketball court for 45 minutes, I don't even know how long a basketball game is. That's so bad.
About an hour.
Okay, about an hour.
But just the final 2 minutes, those are like an hour.
Those are an hour,
yeah, for sure.
So, but if you just did that time and time again in a week, just think about how you would feel at the end of that week. And that's not driving to the basket. That's not potentially banging into another 6'4", 200 and something pound wall of muscle. That's not falling on the floor in between. That's not getting up the next day, doing a practice training, and then doing it all over again. So you have to look at the fact that there's something there that we are not doing, that they are doing. And that's really what it is. They have professionals who say, okay, time for just mobility, time to make sure that you are getting your 8 hours. we all shrug sleep for whatever our responsibility is. Jobs, kids, even training.
What is with that in our culture? Like, it extends to the work life. Like, how many people have you worked with that said, like, man, I only got like 2-4 hours of sleep?
It's like a badge of honor.
Why is it a badge of honor?
Not.
But you're seeing such an amazing shift. Ariana Huffington has really spearheaded this movement. She started a new company called Thrive, I think it is, but she released a new book on like the importance of sleep, because she herself had an experience where she was working those long days thinking, the longer I work, the better my company will be. She ended up passing out, smacking her head off of a counter and getting a concussion. And it was a wake up, no pun intended, but a wake up call for her. And this is how she's totally changed her way of thinking about how important sleep is. And it shouldn't be a badge of honor to say, I worked so hard because I only got 2 hours of sleep. And I think people need to change, like, make that shift also to think, like, am I working effectively? Just because I'm working out for 3 hours in the gym or at the office for 10 doesn't mean you're working effectively. Yes.
Work smart, not hard.
Yes.
I'm 100% on that.
And I mean, that analogy is something that, like, I take into my training with people, because I don't feel like you need to be killing yourself every day in the gym. You don't need to be that person every day. There are places for that. There are times in your training where the intensity level definitely needs to be taken up a notch. And somewhere in there, and you fit it in, but that's not every day. You don't need to do that every day.
You think it's detrimental?
If you do it every day, for sure, you're going to overtrain. You're going to have chronic injury. How many people do you know are like, oh, my knees?
Me.
Everybody.
Bursitis, tendonitis in the bicep.
Overuse injuries, all of them.
Meniscus.
And it happens to people who are just going to a class. You should not be suffering chronic.
It's kind of true, if you think about it.
If I'm going to be suffering from some kind of chronic injury, it better be because at the end of the day, there's a big hefty paycheck in my account for whatever athletic company that is sponsoring me to deal with that chronic pain. Not because, Joe told me to do 855 deadlifts and, whatever it is in the class. And told me to do that on Monday, and then again on Tuesday, and then again on Wednesday when I went. Like, that's the problem, is that people, what we're talking about, people feel like unless you're dead at the end, you haven't really accomplished anything. Unless you're feeling pain the next day, you haven't accomplished anything. When really, the real accomplishment is finding consistency in your training, finding consistency in your wellness plan, finding consistency in the way that you eat, and making it a part of your lifestyle, so that all of those things are never easy. They're challenging. Your workout should definitely be challenging, but you don't have to kill yourself every day.
And it's you're exactly right. It's sustainable. You don't have to take a week off because, well, sometimes you do.
Yeah,
so you got to listen to your body. But like, how many times have I heard friends saying, like, I just can't get out of bed this week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by, and it's, I think, largely because they just overtrained and their body is saying, hold up, I can't do this.
I need a break.
I need a break.
And season up. Well, we've hit an hour. It doesn't feel like it, but we've actually gone past an hour, and we didn't get to talk about your business at all. A great conversation, though. I mean, I've learned a lot about women's fitness, or just fitness.
But you know what? I think we've talked about our businesses in an indirect way. We've talked about the fact that
we haven't plugged it.
That technology,
shameless plugs,
that Fit for Thought, that Alex really is passionate about, and that technology that's going to help people kind of adjust their way they kind of monitor their overall health and fitness. And then I just spoke about it. The way that you eat, the way that you train, the way that you live.
But what is the premise? So how do so eat, train, and live? Why did you come up with why did you come up with that concept? And what were you finding that was going to be different from what everybody else was doing?
Well, because I just find, like, 20 years later, this is the way that I live my life. I don't kill myself. I do challenge myself with all of my workouts, with all of my training. I don't deprive myself of any type of food or drink.
Do you eat donuts?
I do eat donuts.
Were we talking about donuts earlier today?
There's probably nothing that I don't eat.
You eat pork?
Bacon, occasionally.
But bacon's good.
Occasionally.
We're both omnivores.
Yeah. Yes. But I didn't eat bacon for
bread?
For 20 years. I do eat bread, but I don't eat. So when I'm at home, very rarely do I eat bread, unless it's like sprouted and whole grain.
Yeah.
But when I'm out at a restaurant and they've got fresh baked bread, yep.
Alex, you eat bread?
I do eat bread. I also am not a proponent of eliminating entire food groups from your diet. I think if we want to get into the politics of food now or later, I think people need to eat more whole foods and just think about how things are processed. It's really, grains aren't bad for you. Think about how is this particular grain, how has it been processed?
Yeah.
I think that has a big effect on the quality of food and the way that it affects your body.
Yeah.
Right.
I just posed the question. A lot of people I know in the last couple of weeks have been watching a documentary called What the Health, and multiple people I know have said it is their catalyst to becoming vegan. So
that documentary is so one-sidedly skewed.
First of
the
all,
research not there.
First of all, I've seen other documentaries and read other books that if it was going to sway me in that direction, would have done a much better job.
For sure.
I think it just reaffirmed the fact that factory farming and corporations and corporation-funded research is completely skewed.
Yeah.
And you should definitely try to buy local and small farm and organic and
For
all
sure.
of that stuff.
Just try to find a good butcher.
Find a good butcher. Know where your food comes from. And that's really and don't judge people who don't follow your ideas about food.
Yeah.
If you want to be a vegan, I 100% support you. And I don't cook vegan, but I will definitely make sure that you get the best source of vegan food possible.
Right.
Just like I'm going to make sure that you get the best source of protein if you're an omnivore. So carnivore.
So where can we Alex, where can we find you? Where can my listeners find you?
Yes, well, so you can find me on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. The podcast name is Fit for Thought. I also have a website, www.fitforthought.co. Very active on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My handle is the same for all four. It's Fit, 4 Thought Pod. That's where you can find me. Or if you're in Toronto and you see me at a gym working out somewhere, as much as I love working out, I love the before and after in a class. I think it's the best opportunity for information exchange. I think it's such a powerful moment between the people in that class to be able to connect with one another, find out, who are you? What are you all about? What kind of information? That's another opportunity for trainers. You're not just creators of program. You don't have the responsibility of someone's health and wellness in your hand, but you should also embrace the fact that you could be a great connector of people to information. And that's really one of the driving forces for me behind the podcast, and thinking about how can I integrate this geeky side of myself with tech and information with fitness. And I think it happens outside the podcast. I think it happens in a lot of these boutique gyms, at boot camps, whatever it is. Take the opportunity to connect with people and be open to sharing information with one another, and allowing each other to shine. There's room for everyone.
Everybody.
There's a lane for everyone.
For sure.
And I think I'm a big proponent of shine theory, that I think surrounding yourself with successful people should not deter you or put you in a state of depression or self-loathing. It should only inspire you to look at that other person and say, wow, she's fucking killing it. I want to be like that.
Yeah.
I want to be like her. Not in an envious way, but wow. I could do that too.
47 years old, and some of the people who I look to for information, who I reach out to as a sounding board, are half my age.
Yeah, right.
They're new to the game, but they have such an energy and a fresh outlook on things. And, I have no problem saying to somebody who's basically the same age as my kid, what are your ideas on this? I'm coming to you for advice because I don't know everything.
And it's always constantly changing.
It's constantly changing. And I mean, you can find me at www.etrainlive.ca.
Plug it all in. Plug it all in. Plug everything
or on
in.
Instagram, eTrainLive or FitLonie. But no,
Eat Train and Live, or Eat Train Live is
Eat
one
Train
word.
Live.
.com.
.ca.
.ca. So it's very important. So eattrainlive.ca, and your Instagram
is my personal one is Fit Lonie, and you can basically see, which I always tell people too. If you have somebody on Instagram that you really like, check if they have a business account. Try and check out their personal account because you really get a taste of who they are. So you can definitely see who I really am on my Fit Lonie, and then eat.train.live.toronto is my Instagram for my business. But yeah, I mean, there, like Alex said, there is a lane for everybody, and there's also lots of room for people to kind of merge in between those two. Like Alex, I am always open and willing to hear and talk to and learn from, especially other women. I love to hear what their take on fitness is and what their take on, the ever-changing and evolving world of women's fitness is. I think it's great that women are now learning that strong is okay, and that they're taking their overall health into consideration when they're looking at their training, some of them, and maybe not get just I think my final thought would be just not to get so caught up in the imagery of fitness and rather the actual true benefit of it, what it can do for you long term.
That's awesome. Well, that's a very good outro to this podcast. I want to thank you guys I'm going to have you guys on again because there's a lot of points.
We could talk forever.
Part 2.
I know it's good.
Let's talk about food next time.
Ooh,
we didn't talk about food at all. The favorite thing of all.
So political. Right? Yeah, that's not an easy conversation.
It's not, but it's an interesting
fun,
one.
Though.
Right? Well, we're all omnivores, so at least we're all gonna agree on that aspect of things, and I'm open to learn a lot more about it as well. But guys, thank you very much for coming on the podcast, and we're gonna do this again for sure.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, this is the City Podcast. I am Chad Cranston without Broke It Back Steve Mealing, and we're out.